Prior to lockdown, I was running a poetry class at the Asylum and Refugee Centre in Blackburn as part of Blackburn Museum's Kick Down the Barriers commissions. And I met a lot of remarkable people there, and including a number of Afghan women who told me their own harrowing stories. But the poem itself that I'm going to read you, it was based on a film by an incredibly brave British Afghan filmmaker called Cyrus Shah, who went undercover in Afghanistan to film the brutal treatments of women under the Taliban regime. And in one particular scene, which took place in a sports stadium, a group of women were being executed for alleged crimes of adultery and infidelity. And it was like a scene out of ancient Rome. The stadium was filled with cheering spectators, while the Taliban elders sat there like Caesars, presiding over the whole event. And the women were led out and forced to kneel down and shot in the back of the head. It was harrowing to watch. So this poem is called Who Killed Fatima Durrani? Because I started thinking more and more about that particular scene. And the West's own involvement in this, obviously indirectly, but the stadium itself, where these executions were taking place, was built and funded with Western money. The Taliban regime took power because of the power vacuum that had been created, first with the Russian invasion and then the West flooding arms into the country to arm the Mujahideen, to arm a resistance. And those arms later were turned on the people themselves. And also the gun that was being used was also from outside of the country. So then you start asking yourself, well, this is kind of a scene of medieval barbarism that's taking place. Are we not also, in some way, complicit in this? So the poem's called Who Killed Fatima Durrani. The name was taken from a lexicon of Afghan women's names. The women in the film were faceless and nameless. Who killed Fatima Durrani? The elders in the courtyard who condemned her. The neighbour that accused her gave her name. The clerk who signed and sealed her life asunder. The adulterer who let her take the blame. Was it the bullet from a factory in France whose coated casing came from Germany? The lead tip from a smelter in Murmansk? The primer charge that came from Italy? The cartridge powder came from Venezuela? The rifle stock from the USA? The barrel came from ore mined in Australia? The firing pin was made in the UK? The man who pulled the trigger was a local, an illiterate who couldn't write his name. Someone murdered Fatima Durrani. So tell me, who is to blame?